Hello and welcome to In Depth. I'm Tina Jha. In October 1947, the princely state of Jammu and Kashmir signed the Instrument of Accession to India with certain concessions for the state's autonomy. This special status for the state and its residents was enshrined in Article 370 of the Indian Constitution. Included in the Constitution as a temporary provision on 17th October 1949, Article 370 exempts Jammu and Kashmir from the Indian Constitution except Article 1 and Article 370 itself and permits the state to draft its own constitution. In addition, it also restricts Parliament's legislative powers in respect of Jammu and Kashmir. Article 35A stems from Article 370, having been introduced through a presidential order in 1954. This article empowers the Jammu and Kashmir legislature to define the state's permanent residents and their special rights as well as privileges. Both Article 370 and Article 35A have been subject matters of debates for several years. They've been challenged in the Supreme Court on grounds of being unconstitutional and violating the basic structure of the Constitution. The debate has once again gained ground with National Conference leader and former Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Omar Abdullah calling for a separate Prime Minister for the state of Jammu and Kashmir. His remarks have invited a lot of criticism from the BJP-led NDA government. In today's edition of In Depth, we take a look at the raging debate over Omar Abdullah's remark, the history of Jammu and Kashmir's accession to India, and why the state was granted special status. On Monday, at an election rally in Jammu and Kashmir's Bandipora, National Conference leader Omar Abdullah said his party would seek restoration of terms of accession of the state. His statement was criticized by the BJP, with top party leaders calling Kashmir an integral part of India. A look at the details in this report. Addressing a public meeting in Bandipora earlier this week, former Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Omar Abdullah said the National Conference Party will work hard for restoring the autonomy of Jammu and Kashmir. That could include having a Sadr-e Riyasat or the President and Wazir-e-Azam or the Prime Minister.
जम्मू कश्मीर बाकी रियासतों की तरह नहीं है। बाकी रियासत बिना शर्त करके हिंदुस्तान में मिल गए। हमने शर्त रखी, हम मुफ्त में नहीं आए। हमने अपनी पहचान को बनाए रखने के लिए आईन में कुछ चीजें दर्ज कराई।
Abdullah's statement evoked sharp condemnation from Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Addressing an election rally in Telangana, the Prime Minister cornered the Congress and the Grand Alliance parties, demanding to know if they supported the National Conference leader's pitch for a separate Prime Minister for Jammu and Kashmir.
चुनाव तो आएंगे जाएंगे, लेकिन ये लोग क्लिक करके रखे, जब तक मोदी है, जब तक मोदी है, आपकी साजिशों को कभी कामयाब होने नहीं देगा। कांग्रेस के साथी पार्टी की ये मांग आपको मंजूर है? हिंदुस्तान में किसी को भी मंजूर है? वो कहते हैं हम घड़ी की सुई पीछे ले जाएंगे और 1953 के पहले की स्थिति पैदा करेंगे और हिंदुस्तान में दो प्रधानमंत्री होंगे, कश्मीर का प्रधानमंत्री अलग होगा। मैं जरा जानना चाहता हूं, जवाब कांग्रेस को देना पड़ेगा। महागठबंधन के सभी पार्टनरों को जवाब देना पड़ेगा। इस चुनाव में उनको जवाब देना पड़ेगा। क्या कारण है कि उनका साथी दल इस प्रकार की बात बोलने की हिम्मत कर रहा है?
Reacting to Omar Abdullah's statement, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley said his demand is intended to create a separatist psyche and asserted that New India would never allow any government to commit such blunders.
आरंभ में पंडित नेहरू के समय प्रधानमंत्री को वहां वजीर आजम कहते थे, राष्ट्रपति को सदर रियासत कहते थे, सूबे में घुसने के लिए अलग परमिट चाहिए था, चुनाव आयोग और सुप्रीम कोर्ट के अधिकार वहां तक एक्सटेंड नहीं करते थे। डॉक्टर श्यामा प्रसाद मुखर्जी के नेतृत्व में जो आंदोलन हुआ उसकी वजह से कई ये प्रावधान वहां से हटे। आज भी वहां का संविधान अलग है, जिसकी वजह से कई समस्याएं आती हैं। ये केवल अलगाववाद की मनोस्थिति पैदा करने वाले बयान है। अगर इस प्रकार की मनोस्थिति मुख्य धारा की राजनीतिक दल करेंगे तो उन्हें यह फैसला करना है कि जब लड़ाई आतंकवाद और अलगाववाद से है पूरे राष्ट्र की, तो ये अलग मनोस्थिति क्यों निर्माण कर रहे हैं। अगर वो मुख्य धारा के हैं तो उनको मुख्य धारा की ओर से ये संघर्ष लड़ना चाहिए।
As Omar Abdullah defended his statement, calling it a reality, BJP President Amit Shah targeted the Congress for its silence on Abdullah's demand of a separate Prime Minister for Jammu and Kashmir. He also clarified that the BJP would oppose the demand of a separate Prime Minister tooth and nail. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. The Kashmir dispute is a legacy of the partition of India and Pakistan in 1947. Under the terms by which Britain brought an end to its rule, it was up to princely rulers to decide whether to accede to India or to Pakistan. The ruler of Jammu and Kashmir delayed signing up to either country. But in October 1947, when the state was invaded by fighters from the tribal areas in northwest Pakistan, its ruler Maharaja Hari Singh acceded to India. In this report, let's take a re-look at the accession story of Jammu and Kashmir to India. Jammu and Kashmir was one among the 565 princely states of India on which the British paramountcy lapsed at the stroke of midnight on 15th August 1947. Under the partition plan provided by the Indian Independence Act, the rulers of these princely states were given an option to join either India or Pakistan. The ruler of Jammu and Kashmir, Maharaja Hari Singh, did not exercise the option immediately. He instead offered a proposal of standstill agreement to both India and Pakistan, pending final decision on the state's accession. Although Pakistan entered into the standstill agreement, it invaded Kashmir from the north with an army of soldiers and tribesmen armed with modern weapons. In the early hours of 24th October 1947, thousands of tribal Pathans swept into Kashmir. The Maharaja of Jammu and Kashmir appealed to India for help. He sent his representative, Sheikh Abdullah, to Delhi to ask for India's help. On 26th October 1947, Maharaja Hari Singh fled from Srinagar and arrived in Jammu, where he signed the instrument of accession of Jammu and Kashmir state. According to the terms of the document, the Indian jurisdiction would extend to external affairs, communications and defence. After the document was signed, Indian troops were airlifted into Jammu and Kashmir and fought alongside the Kashmiris.
Jammu Kashmir's story of merger, if I could say, is interesting as well as sordid. It's a very sordid tale of complications, of many other things happening, like a film script. Our country got freedom on 15th August 1947, but J&K merged with India somewhere in October 1948. There were many reasons for it. The one reason was the indecisiveness of Jammu Kashmir ruler of that time, Maharaja Hari Singh. He was in a fix whether to go with India, whether to go with Pakistan or stay independent. Some historians say his mindset was for staying independent. But since the complications arose and since Pakistan, newly formed Pakistan, showed its true colors, they didn't wait for the agreed things to take place between then India and then Pakistan and the British representatives. So they sent tribal raiders to Kashmir. And they have almost reached Srinagar when then Maharaja had to hurriedly take a decision. Rest is history. He sent messages, he sent emissaries to Delhi that please help us by sending armed forces so that Jammu Kashmir could be saved from the tribal raiders. And after that, when tribals were pushed back, and he signed first instrument of accession, then armed forces were sent and the accession took place.
On 5th March 1948, Maharaja Hari Singh announced the formation of an interim popular government with Sheikh Mohammed Abdullah as the Prime Minister. Subsequently, the Maharaja signed a proclamation making Yuvraj Karan Singh as the regent. In 1951, the State Constituent Assembly was elected. It met for the first time in Srinagar on 31st October 1951. Close on the heels of the State Assembly coming into being, the Delhi Agreement was signed between the Prime Ministers of India and Jammu and Kashmir, giving special position to the state under the Indian constitutional framework. On 6th February 1954, the Jammu and Kashmir Constituent Assembly ratified the accession of the state to the Union of India. The President subsequently issued the Constitution Order under Article 370 of the Constitution, extending the Union Constitution to the state with some exceptions and modifications. The state's own constitution came into force on 26 January 1957, under which the elections to the State Legislative Assembly were held for the first time. This constitution also ratified the state's accession to the Union of India. Section 3 of the constitution says Jammu and Kashmir is and shall be an integral part of the Union of India.
Well, the state of Jammu and Kashmir merged with the Indian Union like any other state. There were 500, 600 Indian states, princely states. They all merged through an instrument of accession. There were 3 states, Junagadh, Hyderabad and Jammu and Kashmir, which took more time, and through different routes they were admitted to the Indian Union. But in all the cases, instrument of accession was signed and made the state integral part of India.
The provision of Article 370 was drafted by Sheikh Abdullah. In the Indian Constitution, it was included as a temporary provision that grants special status to Jammu and Kashmir. All the provisions of the Constitution which are applicable to other states are not applicable to Jammu and Kashmir. Except for defence, foreign affairs, finance and communications, Parliament needs the state government's concurrence for applying all other laws. The state's residents live under a separate set of laws, including those related to citizenship and ownership of property.
Article 370 gives a special status to the state of Jammu and Kashmir, as I mentioned earlier. It is part of the Indian Constitution, very much part of the Indian Constitution. It gives certain special powers to Jammu and Kashmir state, such as it gives the state a unique power to have a separate Prime Minister, to have a separate president, which in our terms they used to be called Sadr Riyasat. Then we could have a separate flag. Even if today you see, if Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir or Governor comes, if he comes to Delhi, please see, his car would be having 2 flags, one national flag and one J&K flag of red color with a plough, with a symbol of plough in between. So special flag and special constitution, these were the special provisions. Another special power given to Jammu and Kashmir was, except telecommunication, finance and defence, the state government could take decision on all other subjects.
Due to the special provisions attached to it, Article 370 has been a subject of debate for several years. Those against it argue that it hampers the integration process of Jammu and Kashmir with the rest of the country. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. After partition, millions of people were displaced in India. They settled in various parts of the country, and over time, they became an integral part of the society. These people were called permanent residents of those areas. But the situation was different in the state of Jammu and Kashmir, where even today, the 4th and 5th generations of people settled decades ago are deprived of their rights under Article 35A. Let's understand in detail about what Article 35A is.
Under Article 35A of the Constitution, permanent residents of Jammu and Kashmir have some special rights. Article 35A gives the Jammu and Kashmir Assembly the right to decide the definition of permanent residence of the state and prevent the people of the other states from buying real estate in Jammu and Kashmir. This has meant that many people who have come from outside and are living in the state for the last several decades have not got any right in the state. Hindu families who migrated from Western Pakistan in 1947 and settled in Jammu and Kashmir are refugees till date. According to data, in 1947, 5,764 families had settled in Jammu. These families have not got any civil rights till now. These people can't get government jobs, neither can their children enroll in government institutions offering vocational education. This situation is not just limited to the people who came and settled from Western Pakistan, but also many others who settled here after independence from other parts of the country. These include people from the Gorkha and Valmiki community. In 1957, about 200 families of the Valmiki community were brought from Pakistan to Jammu and Kashmir. But according to a cabinet decision, they were brought here specially as cleaning workers. For the past 71 years, these people are employed in cleaning work, but they are still not considered permanent residents of Jammu and Kashmir. Even today, these people don't have the right to vote in the state elections.
35A came through one of the presidential orders, 1954. And the presidential order provided that only the original residents of Jammu and Kashmir will have the right to scholarships, services, and land and settlement. That is, those who were not original residents of Jammu and Kashmir, they could not buy land there, they could not build houses, they could not settle there, and they could not claim jobs.
According to the Jammu and Kashmir Constitution, a permanent resident of the state is defined as a person who was a state subject on 14th May 1954 or who has been residing in the state for a period of 10 years and has lawfully acquired immovable property in the state or migrated from the state after March 1, 1947 and has gone within the present Pakistani border area but has come back with a resettlement permit in the state. Under this, citizens of any other state can neither buy property in Jammu and Kashmir nor can they become permanent resident of the state. Simultaneously, according to the notice issued by then Maharaja Hari Singh of Jammu and Kashmir in 1927 and 1932, the permanent citizen of Jammu and Kashmir can be the same person who was born in Jammu and Kashmir in 1911 or before that and has been living there since then, and also the ones who have legally purchased property in the state.
When a woman from Jammu and Kashmir, a citizen of Jammu and Kashmir, or a state subject in this case, marries an outsider, she loses her right to ownership of property. This was the case. But an amendment, or rather, there was a major court case in 2002 which transferred citizenship rights or right to own property to a woman who married outside, but did not allow the woman to extend this right of ownership to her children, which doesn't apply to a man. A man, if he marries an outsider, both his wife and children get state subject certificates, which enables them to own property and get all the rights of a state subject. But that doesn't apply to the husband of a woman from Jammu and Kashmir or the children. So that is the gender question about this State Subject Act. Secondly, apart from, I think, also another major violation of human rights, if you look at it that way, is the manner in which this State Subject Act treats Dalits. Valmikis were brought in 1957 from Punjab to clean the filth of Jammu, and they were given conditional state subject rights. The condition attached was that while they can own property, but they cannot work at any other job except being Safai Karamcharis. So the children of Balmakis are condemned to just be Safai Karamcharis in the state. I think this is gross human rights violation. And the third is the status of people who came from West Pakistan, who came in 1947. These people have Indian citizenship, but they're not given state subject rights. So that is the other major concern. And all these three are matters which the Supreme Court is hearing.
According to Article 35A, a person outside Jammu and Kashmir cannot buy any immovable property in the state. Also, a person from other state cannot become a citizen of Jammu and Kashmir. Article 35A states that if a girl from Jammu and Kashmir marries an outsider, then she will lose all her rights. However, in 2002, the Jammu and Kashmir High Court issued an order saying in such cases, a girl's right will continue for life. Under Article 35A, refugees from Western Pakistan are still deprived of the fundamental rights and identity in the state. People living in Jammu and Kashmir who don't have a permanent residence certificate can vote in the Lok Sabha elections, but can't vote in local bodies and assembly elections.
35A basically flows down from the spirit of 370. You cannot detach it and see it separately from 370. Its basic spirit flows from there. The only debatable point currently is 35A is not constitutional because it has come through a presidential order. But certain experts do believe that President of India has certain constitutional powers to issue special notifications, special orders like this. So it comes from it flows from 370, but it gives special rights to Jammu and Kashmir Assembly to determine who could be a permanent resident of Jammu and Kashmir, what could be his powers, his or her powers, what couldn't be his or her powers. So basically 2-3 subjects, it gives special powers to the J&K State Assembly.
In fact, Article 35 gives special powers to Jammu and Kashmir as a state. It implies that the state government has the right under this article to give and abstain privileges to people who migrated there during independence and other Indian nationals in Jammu and Kashmir. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Jammu and Kashmir has been facing upheavals since long. At the behest of Pakistan, many terror attacks have taken place in the state, which also resulted in a large-scale exodus of Kashmiri Pandits. Political instability, separatism and Pakistan-sponsored terrorism have also surrounded the state of Jammu and Kashmir. But now the union government is sincerely trying its best to resolve all of these issues. We leave you with this report. Thank you very much for your time.
The first formal document of Kashmir came out through Kalhan's Raja Tarangini. Hindus have ruled there from BC to Zainul Abidin's regime. Since then, from time to time, both Hindus and Muslims have ruled Kashmir, and this practice continued. During Ranjit Singh's rule, Sikhs also governed this area. Both in Jammu and Kashmir Valley, people of all stratas have lived together since the beginning. In 1822, Gulab Singh became the king here. Ranbir Singh came to power after the death of Gulab Singh in 1857. Pratap Singh became the king in 1885. Hari Singh took the charge of the state in 1925. At the time of independence, he was the king of Kashmir when the treaty was signed with India. Since then, Kashmir has been a bone of contention. Kashmir was divided into two. One part came to India and other one was occupied by Pakistan. Despite UN's intervention, there was no reconciliation between India and Pakistan over Kashmir. Due to Article 370 prevalent in Kashmir, several rules and regulations are also different.
There is Article 370 which regulates the relationship between India and the state of Jammu and Kashmir. But it is not a special provision. The Constitution makes a distinction between special and temporary provisions. This is one of the temporary provisions, not a special provision. Very often we talk about a special status or special provisions for Jammu and Kashmir. That is not correct. It is by definition a temporary provision.
Pakistan's intervention in Kashmir has continued since 1947. Relations between the two countries are strained over Kashmir. There have been 3 wars between the two countries so far and many agreements. Several attempts for negotiations have also been made in the past, but there was no concrete outcome. Pakistan has always created a situation against India in Kashmir. The exodus of Kashmiri Pandits is also linked to it. When the anti-India protests intensified in 1988, the valley had to face curfew many times. In 1989, Pakistan helped in providing weapons to the militants and terror reached its peak. Political instability had reached such a level that the then Chief Minister Farooq Abdullah had to resign. Jagmohan became the governor there. In January 1990, after the death of nearly 100 people in military firing, there was a rapid increase in militant activities. Violence spread throughout the valley and people took to streets. Srinagar's Doordarshan was attacked and its director was killed. And then the attacks against the Kashmiri Hindu community also started.
See, the migration of Kashmiri Pandits is a very long and again a very sad story. I may say it's unfortunate for a person like me to have seen the last held migration of Kashmiri Pandits, which took place in after 1989 and through the 1990s it took place. But it is a long history. The migration of Kashmiri Pandits has taken place 7 or 8 times over the centuries, but reasons were different from different times. One common reason was always that some kind of repression, repression in the name of religion, in the name of domination. That was one common thread, which also occurred during the 1989-90 migration also.
By March, Kashmiri Hindus started leaving the valley. Eventually, there were only a handful of Hindus in the Kashmir valley, and people who were displaced started going to relief camps. And after that, they settled in Delhi or anywhere they found place.
It can be certainly said that the state failed to provide security and assurance of safety to these people, and therefore they had to run away. But responsibility must attach to the extremist, non-social, anti-national elements there.
There is also the allegation that the administration did not show any promptness at that time. Experts believe that if the administration was swift, situation had been different. People who have suffered believe that the attacks were targeted and to save lives, they left home and fled. Kashmiri Pandits have been demanding their rehabilitation for a long time. Since the formation of the NDA government in 2014, steps are also being taken in this direction. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.